somebody may not notice it, but the staff would know because they know each dog so well. They're like, okay, she's not eating like she normally does, or she's not doing this, or he seems to be favoring this leg a little bit. And that's the cool thing about having the staff longevity is you catch all those things that the pet parents don't really notice. And I just, like I said, my staff is great, and we actually have really great clients too.
Welcome to another episode of Clear Lake Connections, where we talk to the people behind the businesses of Bay Area Houston. We are proudly sponsored by UTMB Health. Today we are with Angela Bivens of Pet Palace. Angela, welcome. Good to see you again. You and I have known each other for a very long time. Go ahead and tell the audience about Pet Palace and what it does.
So the Pet Palace has been around in brick and mortar for 18 years. Prior to that, my husband and I did pet sitting for 10 years. Felt like the area needed a facility, something that was spacious for especially big dogs that could get out and run and play during the day when their owners are away. So we looked into building one, and finally, as I mentioned, 18 years ago, our brick and mortar came to be, and it's just actually grown more than we ever expected. We do everything but veterinary care there now, 365 days a year.
And you have a limo, if I'm not mistaken.
We do. Years ago, I was trying to figure out, well, how do we get our name out there? And I thought about put it on the side of a limo. So we do have a limo that we use for pickup and delivery for dogs. We actually do food delivery also for the Clear Lake area. Been doing that for quite a while.
Okay. So, yeah, I think that's a unique way to brand your business and get it out there. And I don't think small business owners enough times think outside of the box like that. So very well done with that. It stuck in my mind, obviously.
Well, we first tried to do the billboards on Highway 3, and we just didn't get anything from them. And they were pretty costly for us at the time, being a small business. And the mobile advertisement just really, we still get hits on that all the time. Oh, we saw your limo, you're driving here or there, or whatever. So, yeah, so it is pretty noticeable.
With prom coming up, it's not rentable, is it?
We have, people have asked that. We've done a few things with it. I've covered a few of the charities. They'll pick up, we'll go and pick up like, who we pick up? Oh, gosh, Kima people, whatever. Anyway, we took them to events, dropped them off, that kind of thing. And a couple of the Pet Talk magazine did a special several years in a row where you'd win something to go to a restaurant, and we would pick the owner and the pet up, and they'd go to the restaurant, we'd wait for them, they'd eat dinner, and we'd pick them up and bring them home. So it's been used for several events over the years. So
that's awesome.
Kind of fun.
So you talked about community involvement, and I know you guys are super involved with the chamber and the community. Tell me about your partnership with Hope Village.
Well, I don't know if it's a real partnership. It just kind of tripped up on that a couple times. My husband is a CGC evaluator. That's Canine Good Citizen. So that allows for pets, once they reach that accreditation, to be able to go into hospitals and the different places to bring therapy to people that are, just need a cheer for the day or whatever. But so to get to do that, you have to get that accreditation. So he is an evaluator, and there's a process you go through. There's, I don't remember the exact steps that they have to do and the tests they have to pass. But one of the things is you maybe have to be around, somebody in a wheelchair or crutches, or, something that would be unusual, something that a dog walking down the street, something may stick out. Like maybe sometimes people do stimming behavior and like that, and that may catch a dog off guard. And we try to replicate things that they might see in different situations, and so that they're able to work through those situations in a calm manner. So I know over the years, Darrell has taken him over to Hope Village, and the villagers get to interact with them, and then it gives the pet parents the chance to experience those kind of situations. So it's
That's
good for
awesome.
both ends.
Yeah, absolutely. You talked a little bit about that certification. What other certifications do you and Darrell have that you find you need to run the Pet Palace?
Well, there used to be a lot more certifications in the industry. They've kind of fallen off. There was pet care technician certifications, and there was also kennel certifications, which at the time we did all those things. And it's basically making sure that your facility's up to par. We hold a kennel certificate and a health certificate through that. And we do have to make sure that every pet has all their required vaccinations on hand to be in the facility. So that's something that is required. Our staff, though, does further training just what we have encouraged them to do, and we do it up there all the time, is our community play situation. That's where dogs come for the day and they play all day and interact with other dogs. And of course, they have to go through an evaluation process and pass. Not everybody is a good fit for that, whether the parents think they might be or not. Sometimes we find like individual play is better, but those that do pass, then they do get to be out there in the group play environment during the day. And it's really a great opportunity for when pet parents are working all day, they can't get home, give them the walks, or they get home late, they don't have time to go for walks at that point. They're already exhausted when they get there. But the important thing, and probably what makes us a little different, Darrell is a behavioralist, and so he takes the staff through training on what we call as dog language. So you can look at a dog and how they're holding their ears, or how their hair is on the back of their neck, or how they're holding their tail or their stance, or how their mouth and lips are. You watch all that in their eyes, and the staff watches that, and that's probably what makes us so successful in not having any, outbursts or, confrontations really in daycare. Not that don't ever happen, but they're really rare because they're kind of on top of their toes. You can tell the dog's going to get in a fight long before it does. So that's the key, is having your staff out there and being aware of those things so you don't have the issues. So with our facility, it doesn't matter what breed your dog is. A lot of people won't let certain breeds to their facility. We don't go on the breed. It's all on each individual dog, on how their behavior is and how they react to other pets. That kind of thing.
Yeah, you brought up an interesting point that actually has come up in our podcast before, and that's I think the other person said not everybody is the right client. And in this case, not every dog should be allowed into the play area. And so that's interesting. It's really important for small business people to understand that you don't have to take every client on. It's got to be a good fit, and it sounds like you guys really understand that.
Exactly, but then you also don't reject them either because they're a certain breed, or like just because they're intact, meaning they haven't been fixed yet. So a lot of people won't take intact males. They're like, well, they're going to start a fight. Well, that's not a fair assessment. You can't do that, and you can't pick on a certain breed either. Mm-hmm. Surely there's always breeds that typically, like golden retrievers, they're pretty much tried and true, and you just can't hardly find one that's not a great golden retriever. But there will be one there occasionally. But with that said, also, you just got to measure each on their own behavior and kind of look at them and see, are they the right fit, and test them when they come in.
So you mentioned that, not every dog is a good fit for playtime per se, mm-hmm. but you also offer training that would help them maybe adjust to that down the road? Absolutely.
So as I mentioned, my husband does CGC training. So another kind of first step to that would be your basic behavioral kind of training. We don't do any pinch, choke, or shock collars. We don't even sell them there. But the kind of training we do is based on emotions and your relationship with your dog. So we do training classes. I think we have like about 4 that we do a year. They're not set in stone, the dates, because it depends on how long the classes last. We don't cut them off at 6 weeks because the dogs may not be ready. So that's kind of a little unique. When you go somewhere, like, oh, it's a 6 weeks course, it starts this and ends this. So we wait to see, my husband just kind of sees about how they're progressing, and when they're ready to graduate, then they would graduate at that point. If it's more behavioral issues, like a lot of times the first thing you say is go visit your vet and make sure everything's, looking right there. Because a lot of times the behavioral issues have to do with maybe an internal problem. Maybe they have chronic earaches or something like that. And a lot of people don't realize that. So generally we can tell earaches. The dog's going to be shaking his ear or messing with one ear, and, or it may smell or something like that. But he'll tell you to go get, sometimes just go to your vet, get that checked out. A lot of times it's food allergies, or it could be sometimes eggs can bring out aggression in dogs. Different ingredients are going to affect them. So we can look at different things like that. And then there's always, basic classes, or could be environmental classes. Maybe the dog, if he has issues with thunder, issues with airplanes, things like that. There's ways that we can work with that. And we're always working with dogs, trying to get them to be more acceptable to the grooming process, because a lot of dogs just don't like their nails clipped. And then we've got some tricks that we can use to kind of acclimate that to them. That's another thing about a grooming department. We don't just push the dogs through the grooming department on a time schedule. If one's having more difficulty, well, we'll maybe put them up for a little bit and then get him back out 30 minutes later, and maybe try to clip the other nails on the other paw and then put him back up. Because the idea is we don't want him to be stressed out when he comes there, or be stressed out when he goes to the vets, because he thinks every time he goes there, well, they're going to clip my nails and I don't like it. But eventually the goal is to let him see that, hey, this is all right. It's not going to hurt. And, I can hear the clipping sound, but it really doesn't hurt. Or it's different things like that. And brushing, a lot of people tend to not have the time to brush their dogs. Their dogs tend to get matted more often. So if one comes in that's really matted, then, we are not going to just tear through it, getting it dematted, or just maybe clip or shave it all off. We may spend more time and put him back up. Sometimes we've had people having to bring him back the next day, because you don't want to work on them too long, and a lot of times it's difficult for dogs to stand that long too. So we try to figure out what's going to be the best scenario for this dog to make his experience the best, so the next time he'll want to run in here versus being drug in.
Yeah.
And that brings me to another point. One thing that I think is really different about the Pet Palace, and clients tell me, is like they have to be careful what they say, or like the way they drive, because if they drive toward the Pet Palace, the dog kind of knows it and they get up and get excited, or they start barking and whining. They can't say, or like they pick up the leashes and walk towards the car. They're like, oh my God, it's ridiculous. I can't even talk on the phone. I can't do anything on the way here because my dog's just losing it, And it's funny because in the morning, one thing that we do at the Pet Palace is definitely different. We've done it since we opened, is we go out to the car to get you, or to help you bring your dog in. Long before we even talked about curb service a year ago, we have a porta cachet that we do that with. So people will drive up, we'll go out, open the door, and get the dog out. So many times we have to be really careful how we open the door, because the dog will just push through the door and they'll go right into the front door of the facility. We have an automatic door that opens so they can get in. And it's funny because they're tearing out to get in there. I mean, we're just like this the whole way in there. So it warms our heart to see that, because that just makes our day. That's what we're there for, is to know that they're happy. And that the parents know they're happy. They see that, and that's all I need.
Happy pet, happy owner.
I know. So. That's so true.
So you said you don't sell any choke collars or anything like that, but you do have a full retail store. Tell me a little about that place.
We do. We have an unusual amount of products. I think the last time I counted, we have probably about just under 100 different formulations of food alone. So there are so many foods out there nowadays that clients don't really realize, of course, because this isn't their industry, but it used to be we just had chicken. Years ago, when, in the 40s, when the war came out, that's when kibble came to be. When they had to do away with the cans, because the cans had to go for the war effort back then. So that's when the first kibble came out, and it was always chicken. So for years, we only had chicken. Well, then dogs started building up an intolerance to the chicken they ate. So then you branched out to the beef and the lamb. Well, nowadays, they have pretty much every protein you can imagine. There's rabbit, kangaroo, there's trout, there's whitefish, there's salmon, there's guinea fowl. The list goes on. And a lot of people think that if my dog's allergic to chicken, well, he can't use turkey or pheasant or anything like that. That's not true. Each one seems to react differently with the pets. So the good thing about it is there's a lot of options out there that you don't have to, that you can keep switching around. And that's what they do recommend. They do recommend to switch proteins, because they don't build that intolerance to it and build up sensitivities. So a lot of people say, oh, I can't switch my dog's food because he may, get a loose stool. So I always try to make them understand, what happens if you would eat steak every day of your life, and then next week you had fish one day? Your bowels would probably be different too, but that doesn't mean you're sick and you need to go to the hospital. But dogs in the environment, they're going to go out and they're going to get a mouse today, a chicken tomorrow, the next day they're going to get a fish or whatever. It's going to be different every day. That's what their gut is used to, so they're fine with it, so. And it is nice for them to get the varieties of food, because then they get to be more excited about their dinner, because it's different. If we just put the same bowl down every night, then a lot of times they don't eat, and they tend to be grazers. And if you can get them to eat their food every night, you can be more predictable about when you need to take them outside, which is nice too, because when you take them out, they're going to go.
Yeah.
But if they've been grazing all day long, you're maybe not sure when they do need to go. But as far as that, we carry really everything. We've got a cool selection of collars and leashes that are kind of unusual, from beaded to really pretty material ribbon-like collars that are just really decorative, leather collars, collars with shotgun shells with the Texas little star emblem, different things like that. So if you want to find something unique, we've got that. We've also got supplements. And as far as food, to get back to that, we carry raw, we carry dehydrated, freeze-dried, canned, and kibble. So a huge variety of those. All of our treats, a lot of them are single source protein, freeze-dried. There's probably just as many treat options as we have food options, as I mentioned. Our food is buy 12, get one free. You don't have to keep track of your UPCs. We keep track of in the store, and your 12th bag, your 13th bag is free, so that's a nice option too. And as I mentioned earlier, we do delivery, so with any $50 purchase of food, we'll take it anywhere in the Bay Area at no cost to you. So a lot of people have been taking advantage of that. That's a nice option when you don't want to get out or can't get out.
So I wanted to ask you about the changes you've seen in basically the way we treat dogs as family members and, businesses like yours coming up. But before we do that, I need to send it over to Sherry Sweeney. She has a quick announcement from the Chamber, and then we'll come back to that question.
Thank you, Jameson. Hello, Clear Lake Area Chamber of Commerce members and Bay Area Houston. We are excited to announce that our annual Epicurean Evening is going to be May 20th during Rock the Dock at the Kemah Boardwalk. This year, we'll be able to showcase our area food establishments at the boardwalk. You just purchase one ticket. You'll be able to taste them all, enjoy some adult beverages, and then rock the dock with a Journey cover band. It's May 20th. It's a Thursday night, so you can get ready for the weekend. Go to clearlakearea.com for more information. Back to you, Jameson.
So over the years that you've been in this business, I think there's been a big change in the way, dogs are now considered part of people's families. And it sounds like your business kind of took that and was able to apply it. So what do you think has attributed to a lot of that?
Well, a lot of people aren't having children anymore, so that's their baby. Even if they do have children, just for us, when we opened the business, we had 2 Great Danes, Standard Poodle, and 2 Yorkies, and they're our babies, just like our kids were. Everybody has a different level. Every client has a different level of, how they treat their dogs. But generally, overall, I think people are more aware of if you feed your dog better ingredients in their food. You don't just go buy the cheapest bag of kibble. It's kind of like us. If we ate French fries all day long, how are we going to react? So people have really come to understand the importance of feeding a higher quality food. You feed less food. So the bag per bag may cost more, but you're feeding them a lot less. So you get more out of that bag anyway. And the dog's living longer, their coat's healthier, their gums, their teeth, everything smells better and works better. So food's become an important thing. They're also understanding that they need exercise. They're less destructive if they get out there and they're busy. So my client said, "Oh, my dog was exhausted. He came up from community play and he's exhausted, and he just lay down and went to sleep, or he was curled up next to me and wanted to be petted, but he was content." Their attitudes are better. They're less destructive. They're not digging in the yards because they do get out and get engaged. It's just us if we were kind of stir crazy in the house all day in one room and didn't get to move. So the daycare really has been big for us in the last couple years because people have noticed it really does make a difference in how their dog behaves. They don't get a lot of people were wanting to get rid of their dogs because he's destructive and he's got bad manners and I can't take him and get the exercise he needs, and daycare kind of fills those needs and gives them that perfect dog that they're looking for basically when they don't have time to make it happen. They're at work all day. Sometimes people do 12-hour shifts, so in that sense, we can step in and be that person for them in that regard.
So it's tourism month, and I got to thinking about, we know what has happened over the last year to the tourism industry directly, but then I started thinking about businesses like yours that rely on tourism of a different kind. So how's that been going?
Well, it was a tough year for us, just like it was for everybody out there. It doesn't seem to be, what you're due. You had a rough year. The of course, as tourism comes back, we'll have people boarding more. But what I did see is that more people were home with their dogs this year. So our daycare business was pretty consistent. It took a little dive in the beginning, but as people got back to working and even they're working out of their house, they couldn't be there with their dog, at their feet all day. The dog wanted to go outside, the dog wanted to eat, the dog wanted to play, but they were having to do Zoom meetings. So we did have a lot of influx of daycare, of new daycare clients who hadn't really realized the benefit, and once they did that, they saw the benefit. One thing that we do is we have a puppy play for pups that have their shots up to 7 months, and they can come in the first Tuesday of every month, and they get the free puppy play and the evaluation. They get a bath and nails clipping and all that. A lot of times pups hadn't come in until they were a year old, and then this was a whole new experience to them. So this is something we've been offering, and now they're seeing, oh my gosh, my dog was exhausted when it came home, and he's used to getting his nails done, or he'll let me brush him now, or he's better at the vet because he's used to being messed with. So those were all beneficial things that we saw with people bringing their dogs in that situation.
Yeah, you brought up that they are the kids for some people, but just like kids, they need the socialization. We expect it for our kids, and you're right, we should probably expect it for our dogs as well.
Yeah.
So one fear that a lot of people have coming out of this pandemic is that a lot of people will have taken in dogs because they were at home. So it sounds like if they do have to go back to work, instead of giving up the pet, you've got a solution for them.
Yep, the daycare is a great opportunity. We do have daycare where they can just day board, which that's if they don't get along with others, and then they can go out with a staff person. So if they're really not the ones that really enjoy that community action, which sometimes they don't. Like I had a poodle, and when she turned 7, she was done with it. She didn't want to do community play anymore. So she would do individual play with the staff. So she'd come up and spend her day when we're up there, and then staff would take her out a couple times during the day and, do the Frisbee or whatever she wanted to do. Then you've got the other dogs that I have that just love daycare, and they want to be out there and messing around and chasing and doing everything that they do out there. And we've got a pool up there. They'll jump in and out of the pool. They love all that. So, it doesn't matter what your dog's style is or what they enjoy. We've got a lady that has a couple Newfoundlands, and one of them just wants to come out there and sit. And we're like, okay, I don't know if this is really the best fit for her. She doesn't really engage, and maybe she'd enjoy one-on-one. And she goes, no, I want her out there with her brother, just sitting out there watching everybody. And, as long as she's out there happy, she's not unhappy, just leave her out there. So that's, works for her. So.
Yeah. So any parting words for our audience? Anything else you want them to know about Pet Palace?
Well, I would say come give us a tour. Even if you're not ready to go anywhere, come to our place, check it out. Most people have this unrealistic idea of what kennels are. People, when they come for a tour, they're shocked. They're like, there's dogs in here, which we can have 100 dogs in here at one time. They're like, I can't believe it doesn't smell. This place smells good. It doesn't smell like a kennel. So they'll say that, or they can't believe how spacious it is and how much room there is. You don't want to wait until the last second to where you've decided you're going to run and go on a trip this weekend, and then you don't know where to take your dog, because that's like taking your baby, and it's kind of late at that point. So come in and take a tour around the facilities around town. There's other ones out there too, and kind of see what a good fit for your family, and just check it out. There's lots of opportunities.
You're absolutely right. Seeing is believing. And I remember the Chamber did a business after hours, and you wouldn't know it wasn't made for humans. It was a fantastic location, and you're right. It's not what people would expect.
Exactly. And that room that we had it in, we added that on our 10th anniversary, and it's a 5,000 square foot indoor playroom area. And what turned out to be wonderful about that is, through all the hurricanes, through all the issues, anytime we've inclement weather, the pets can go out there. The staff doesn't have to get out in inclement weather, and neither do the pets, but they still can relieve themselves. That's the situation where a lot of people have. You can't get your pets out. they can't even get to the pets to get them out. We're 33 feet above sea level. We've actually gone to people's houses where their house flooded, their streets flooded in our Jeeps, and picked up their dogs, brought them back to the facility. So we've actually never missed a day of being open in 18 years. Even during the freeze, we had our doors open on time. So
wow.
It's funny, people call the phone, "You're open?" I'm like, yes, always. 18 years, we've never missed a day.
Wow.
So the only thing's different is during COVID, we have little shorter hours for Saturday because it's not very busy. So on Saturdays, we open like I think 8:30 to 10 and 3:35. But otherwise, our hours are the same the whole rest of the week. We're open every day.
That's remarkable. Not missing a day of work in 18 years.
I know. Well, not me personally. I mean, but
well,
open,
you could have said that.
But
You could have
opening.
claimed it. Yeah. No, that's fantastic.
Yeah. And we have the best staff that you can imagine. Most of our staff has been there at least a minimum of 5 years, many 10 and 15 years, as a matter of fact. So the cool thing about that is they know the dogs. When the dogs come in, if they're acting a little funny, somebody may not notice it, but the staff would know because they know each dog so well. They're like, okay, she's not eating like she normally does, or she's not doing this, or he seems to be favoring this leg a little bit. And that's the cool thing about having the staff longevity is you catch all those things that the pet parents don't really notice. And I just, like I said, my staff is great, and we actually have really great clients too.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned that because when I work with businesses in the area, I noticed the most successful ones have long staff tenure.
Very blessed.
There's no secret there. It's not it should come as no surprise. If your people are happy and engaged and they stay, like you said, the customers are going to reap the benefits of that, and so will the business. So you guys have really taken a passion for dogs, taken it from pet sitting to basically everything dog related.
Yep.
So congratulations on your success.
Keeps us busy, but we love it. We enjoy it.